8 minutes we got left before we chat. Grab your coffee, find your seat. Cowbells are ringing, that's our cue. Gonna share our thoughts with you. Laugh and gossip, spit in tea. Little secrets between you and me. Countdown ticking, let's get real. Heart to heart, it's how we feel. Girl talks in 8 minutes time. Ring that bell, let's feel the rhyme. Share our dreams and tell our fears. Girl talks, wiping all those tears. Snap a pic of what we wear. Brush our hair, let down our care. Conversations never lie in this moment with you and I. Clock is ticking, here we go. Words like rivers start to flow. Tune your ears and hear the beat. Girl talks makes our time so sweet. Girl talks in 8 minutes time. Ring that bell, let's feel the rhyme. Share our dreams and tell our fears. Girl talks, wiping all our tears. Clock is ticking, here we go. Words like rivers start to flow. Tune your ears and hear the beat. Girl talks makes our time so sweet. Girl talks in 8 minutes time. Ring that bell, let's feel the rhyme. Share our dreams and tell our fears. Girl talks, wiping all our tears.
Morning, y'all. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds before Girl Talk starts, so you have just enough time to grab yourself a cup of coffee and get in a comfy seat. We'll see you soon.
Catch Girl Talks every day. Follow socials, here's the way.
GURLTAUX, every platform come to play. Catch our vibe, don't delay.
Facebook, YouTube streams. Scrolling through your daily memes. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talk is all about. Keeping it real, it's what we do. So tune in now and join our crew. Lights moving through the screen. Click subscribe, don't be me. Upbeat chatter, it's our routine. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Girl Talks can be seen. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. Update stories, laugh and cry. It's Girl Talk, so don't question why. It's the show that you'll adore. Come back daily to get some more. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Girl Talks can be seen. Girl Talk Show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Girl Talks is all about. GURLTAUX, log in now, watch our show. Likes and comments, let them flow. Every day we're on our way. walking down this road tonight, talking about the things we fight. Addiction knocking at my door. E&T wants so much more. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, together we'll move along. Searching for a brighter day, holding tight along the way. Sobriety's a steep climb, D&T winning every time. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Oh yeah, we walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Whoa, yeah. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along. Whoa, yeah. We walk the walk and talk the talk, right here on Girl Talk, on the path where we belong. Standing strong through the storm, D&T bringing all of you along.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm good. You can hear me with the first shot. That was impressive.
First shot. I can hear
Yes.
you. You can hear me. What the fuck?
We're moving along. We're
Hey,
figuring
we're
things
moving
out.
along. And I'm
Big
going to
things.
change something up this morning.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to do our introductions, and then I'm going to read the first half of the morning
Nice.
devotional, and then we
Sounds
can
good.
end with the other half instead of
Okay.
reading both of them at once. Do you like
Okay.
that, or do you like them all together?
Nope, go for it.
Okay. So today is January 10th, and it says priceless. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid again. And from joy, again, sorry, blah, blah, blah. What do I do every time? I've got to take the glasses off because I'm trying to read through two different
You can do it.
things. And from joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Matthew 13:44, NASB version. Following Jesus does not come without its costs. For some of us, it has cost relationships, friendships, jobs, reputations, and preferences. For others, it has cost them their lives. So why are we so willing to make such great sacrifices for the kingdom? Because the benefits far outweigh the cost. And I would have to also put in the middle of that there, why are we not willing to sacrifice everything for the benefits far outweigh the cost? Because there's a lot of people that are stuck on monetary is way more important than the kingdom of God. In the kingdom of heaven, we have forgiveness of sin. We are a new creation. We have fellowship with God, and we have the power of the Holy Spirit to live the lives that God has created us to live. Trading everything that we have for the kingdom of God is a bargain. Heavenly Father, I want my life to be marked as one of the lives for you, no matter the cost. Help the decisions I make today reflect the value I place on following you. You are my everything.
Okay.
So, that's kind of a good way of looking at it. So my name's Tori. I'm the host of Girl Talks, and I want to welcome you to the show today. FYI, Christy, I did send you a couple things on Messenger, so
Yeah.
you have a couple things. I think it was a relevant topic based on kind of what our topic was yesterday. Self-love and how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves. There's an awful lot of talk about how we treat other people. And sometimes I wonder if we forget in the process of how we treat other people that we are people too.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and if you forget that you're a person too, you can forget to treat yourself the way you think about treating other people.
Absolutely.
I am the worst at this. I am so guilty of this. I do treat other people way better than I treat myself. And this has been a habitual problem for life. And I know if you work hard enough at it, you can track back the traumas and whatnot that caught you there.
Right.
But sometimes you don't even know what that actually was. So it takes a
Right.
lot of work to
A lot of
find
work.
that what that is and how
Right.
do you deal with that. So
Right.
I have a friend that she's done a lot of incredible things and a lot from overcoming things. She was in a really bad car wreck many years ago, couldn't walk, and she recovered and she got herself back, doing really, really well. And I met her through art stuff. I joined an MLM type of thing, but it was art related, and I wanted to use the materials. So it was actual selling stuff, but I didn't join it for that. I joined it for the materials and my own networking, of course. But in the process of that, she had a really, really cool farmhouse out here, and her husband and her were got an RV, and they were going to sell the farm, and they were going to start transitioning into full-time travel in their RV. And when they sold the farm, they bought a little cabin to start the downsizing process. And because they didn't think, of course, like many people, that they could do it all at once. And not long after they moved into their cabin, it burnt to the ground.
Oh no.
So they lost everything, and they recovered in a totally not predictable way. They sold everything else that they had, and they bought a boat, and now they're sailing all over the place. I think
Yeah.
right now they're in Key West or something, and they sail all over the place, and they live on their boat. And they bought
Yeah.
like I don't remember, it's a 700 square foot boat.
Yeah.
They are my second friends that sold everything and bought a boat. I have another friend that he was a chief in the Air Force, and when they retired, they sold their house in Nevada, all their stuff, everything they have. They have a little old antique, pretty much little camper trailer or camper, like a Class C, I guess, type of old camper, and a couple dirt bikes left. But they sold their street bikes. I used to be in Asphalt Angels with her, and they sold everything, and they bought a yacht, and they live on that, and I think it's like a 40 or 70 foot yacht or whatever. And it's, it's not like what you see on that yacht show where you watch the people. It's not like that, but
Right.
it's huge
Right.
and it is beautiful, but it's not,
Right.
you know, like one of those fancy, you hear yacht but it's a
Right.
sailboat yacht and it's amazing. And they have made such an amazing life on that boat. And you talk about changing the way you speak to people, the way you treat people, the way you treat yourselves. And many people retire and go travel, get an RV. Some people can have a fire. And I thought about this honestly because of what's going on in California.
Right.
You know, change happens sometimes
Yes.
against your will, and sometimes it happens, you know, deliberately.
Yeah.
And you chose to do this. And sometimes you're
Right.
forced to do something that you never
Yes.
thought you would do. And so you have to change your mindset and you have to change your thinking. And if you
Yes.
move to a new location, you may even change how you talk or how you treat people because you're in a different atmosphere. They act differently. So you have to act
Right.
differently. You have to talk
Right.
differently. You have to think differently. But I think what we often do is in the midst of all of those things, we forget we are people too. And we
Right.
forget that we need to change how we talk to ourselves. If you have failures, if you have setbacks, if you have something negative or bad that happens to you in your life, medical conditions, how do we talk to ourselves? How do we treat ourselves over
Right.
that? And I'm probably I don't know everybody else's life. I don't know everybody else's circumstances. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody is having a hard time, I will go in and try to give them motivation and stuff like that. And then I'll read some other comments and it's people that, well, there's so-and-so that has it much worse than you do. You know,
Right.
he doesn't have legs. Or let me show you this story about this person who, you know, your worst is your worst.
Right.
And comparing it to somebody else's worst is, I think, the reason why we don't change our mindset within ourselves. It's
Right.
why we don't talk to ourselves the way we should, because we do tell ourselves, what's your freaking problem? You who
Right.
don't have it as bad as, look at these people, their houses are burning down. Why are you feeling sorry for yourself? You know,
Right.
how dare you feel sorry for yourself? These people just lost their baby. How dare you
Right.
feel sorry for yourself? Hey, these people just,
Right.
lost her husband in a car wreck. You know, how dare you think? So then you tell yourself that your problems are really not a problem.
Right.
You don't have the right to feel sorry for yourself. You don't have the right to be upset. You don't have the right to all these things, which are what you do need to start the process of changing how you think. You do need to feel those things, acknowledge
Right.
those things, and then you can talk yourself how to feel differently. Does any of that make sense at all, or am I
Yes.
talking?
No, you're right. And I think for me personally, what we talked yesterday really briefly about like this, and I just cannot stress enough the importance of learning how to love yourself. And I think when you truly learn how to recognize those things and love yourself, like, and people will say, like, I can do that and I can, you know, whatever. But, and they'll, like, when you can love yourself, you love people so much more deeply and you forgive and you understand people so much more deeply, because when you truly love yourself and you start to go, okay, I can give myself that grace and I can take a step back and I can forgive myself for this moment in time that I didn't do whatever, or I didn't know this all of the story, or I did, you know, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And really let it go and just find peace with whatever happened. When you come to a situation where you see another person struggling, you don't react, you can talk to them in a different way and go, I can see that you're struggling. I can see that you might be feeling this way. I can
Well,
see
and
that you're
sometimes we
hurt.
might not even see it, but
Right.
we can recognize it in a non-seen way, like
Right.
talking to people when something doesn't go right.
Right.
Your reaction, if they
Right.
don't serve you your coffee just the way you ordered it,
Right.
instead of turning into a Karen and biting their head
Right.
off,
Just going, hey.
hey,
Yeah.
you know what? This is not exactly the way I wanted it. And there is truth to some of the sayings we've learned over the years,
Right.
sugar or honey gets more than,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
all
Yeah.
those things. And you can say the words like, oh, you got to love, when somebody's having whatever mental breakdown
Right.
and you see it,
Yeah.
you'll go in
Right.
and type, you got to love yourself before you can love someone else,
Right.
But do you talk the talk and walk the walk?
Right.
Or do
Right.
you just talk the talk? Do you tell other
Right.
people what to do, but you don't look in the mirror and say it to yourself? You
Right.
don't talk
Yeah.
to yourself about what you need as well. And it's
Right.
like, this can be a very, very double-edged sword, because you also don't want to get so self-absorbed that you don't see anyone else.
Right.
So
Right.
you have
And
to watch you have to watch how far you go with that, but at the same time you have to go with that to the nth degree, because
Right.
you really, really, really have to love yourself. And
Right.
if you you will become kinder, and you have to
Right.
see yourself also. Maybe sometimes it's the hard truths that you have to see yourself maybe through somebody else's eyes,
Exactly.
and
exactly.
see how you talk to somebody.
Yep.
So I just recently watched this movie. I'm over the Christmas movies, but
Right.
it kept popping up and I never watched it through the holiday, but it was called A Christmas Karen.
Okay.
Did you happen to watch it or whatever?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Don't think so.
I watched it the other day, and because I thought it would be kind of comical, and I figured she would be a Karen, and which I always feel bad for the real Karens that are named Karen, especially
Right.
if they don't act like that. But
Right.
but it's a modern day twist on A Christmas Carol. And I kind of
Okay.
figured that's what it was going to be. Like,
Right.
and she was she did Karen very well.
Oh boy.
She was a really nasty person, but she was so nasty to her neighbors, and they were a black family. She was racist. She was cruel. She was mean. The little girl was simply trying to sell hot cocoa outside and singing Christmas carols. And she scared the girl off and, made her shut it down because she didn't have a permit or whatever. And she was just a really nasty person. So as the story develops, she learns that little girl has leukemia.
Oh no.
And that and look at how positive her outlook was. Look how kind she was being, and even to her, she was still being kind. And of course, the spirits come and they show her the past and the present and the future. And the future, she's dead. They're at her funeral, and no one comes to the funeral. No one.
Yeah.
And her brother, who she's estranged from years ago because he was gay, and she judged him for that. And so she cut him out of her life and, was a Karen with him and his husband or whatever. And then the little girl's parents ran out of money and couldn't pay for her treatments. So she died. And the spirit took her to all the people that were that she was associated with. And she's eavesdropping on their conversations, and they're talking really badly. And she's like, why are they talking so mean about this little girl? And he finally says, they're not talking about the little girl.
Right.
Someone else
Right,
died too. And then
Right.
he took her to her funeral, and
Yep.
she's like, and she started the Karen again real quick. Who put me in a tracksuit?
Right.
And
Yep.
it was like, wait a minute, I'm dead and no one's here. Like, it's an empty room. And then her brother does show up, and but while he's there, the parents of the little girl showed up.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why are they here? Like, didn't their daughter just die? And then she talks to the brother. They talk to the brother. Well, we didn't want her to be buried with nobody. And this is what our daughter would have wanted. Even though she was so mean to us, she would have wanted us to come.
Yeah.
And it was like, she had to see how she would treated other people to learn to treat them better.
Yeah.
And I think we all do need that reflection of how we are ourselves. But are you a Karen to yourself?
Oh, man.
Maybe you're nice to everybody else, but are you a Karen to yourself?
Yeah.
And
I had
I think
a real life moment like that once.
Yeah. Okay. Tell.
It's
Tell
funny
the
'cause
story. Yeah.
If I can. It's funny because my daughter called me last night to remind me of it. Well, not of the moment, but that the 10th anniversary is coming up. So my daughter was sick. She didn't have leukemia. She had ITP, which is a blood disorder. We both had it. So she needed monthly transfusions. She was 13, 14 at the time, at a children's hospital in Phoenix. So we'd go, and these transfusions, it's IVIG, and essentially what happens is they give you meningitis for 3 days, because what they do is they take all the donated blood and they take all the bad stuff out of it and they put it into this bag, because what was happening was her spleen was thinking her whatever
Her platelets.
the stuff thank you, that word, were bad, and it was killing
Rejecting
them. So
them.
so she was she had like 4,000 platelets where she should have had 140. So she couldn't clot. So every month we'd have to do this transfusion. And so we were on the hematology oncology unit in the children's hospital. And she'd have to do this every single month. And like the first 2 or 3 times we're up there, and you couldn't touch her, you couldn't turn the lights on, you couldn't, and she's bruised like everywhere, and she's got blood, little scratches and whatever, because she couldn't clot. Like her bra strap would give her bruises.
And she couldn't heal either.
Yeah. And they give her this stuff, and she's got a headache, and I've got to shut the blinds, and it's pitch black in there, and I can't make her feel better after this transfusion. And she's like just in this little ball, and she was crying. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm just not strong. I was by myself because Jesse was taking care of the other kids and doing whatever. And I was like, I can't do this. I am not strong enough for this. And swing the door open, and I ran out of the room. And this like 2-year-old, maybe 3, came flying across the hallway, and this chemo bag attached to her. And she's laughing and chasing a ball. And I was like, I am the biggest, I think I can't handle this. And they're just carrying on. Like, I got this, and suck it up and keep going, because this is nothing. So took a second, but.
Well, sometimes we have to have those wake up calls when we see something else and we go, whoa, why am I feeling like this when, but again, go backwards to what I said at the beginning. Your worst is your worst.
Right.
So we have to give ourselves grace in those moments. Our worst is our worst, because we're also fearing the worst. We're also thinking the worst. Like, what if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't help? What if this? And and we can go through all these challenges and we can tell ourselves a lot of things, but do we walk the walk and talk the talk?
Right.
And sometimes we do need those. And, I see things as signs so often. I think sometimes it's, God puts things in our path that we need at the moment we needed it. And you ran out, running away because it was too much for you. You couldn't handle it. And at that moment, to be honest with you, I would see that if another mother was nearby doing okay, that wouldn't have changed your mindset.
Right.
Because you would have just been like, wow, she's so much stronger than I am.
Right.
You would have attacked yourself.
I would have just compared myself to the mom.
Right.
Yep.
But when you see a
Absolutely.
child that is
Suffering
has
and in
a
pain.
very, very tough
Right.
road, and
Yep.
they may not even survive, and they're 2 or 3
Right.
or 4 years old, and they're got a
Still
chemo
laughing.
bag and they're running around, but they're playing with a ball. They're laughing. They're having fun. They're making the fun out of the best that they can under the conditions that they're in. And you're like, how can I not
Yep.
suck it up? How can I not put a
Yep.
smile on my face? And, working in the medical industry as well, I've seen, I never worked in a cancer ward or any of that.
Right.
But still, when you work in the hospital, you run into them.
Right. Oh yeah.
I worked in a hospital for a while. And when you go down to the cafeteria or whatever, at a certain point in time, you've seen the same family enough times that you know
And
why they're there
always
so much.
so brave. They're always so brave.
Yeah. And
It's obnoxious. It's obnoxious.
sometimes it is. And,
It's like, God damn it. But it's their mindset and it's what makes them heal. Legitimately.
It's what makes
That
them
is
heal,
why
but
they
it's-
heal.
and they
That
do
is why-
everything to give their kid
Yep.
or their
Yep.
mom or dad or spouse or whatever it is the strength to believe that
Yeah.
what they're doing is going to save them or help them. And it doesn't
Exactly.
always work. We know this.
Right.
People still
Right.
to this, like, cancer is not the death sentence like it used to be,
Right.
but it still is.
Right.
For some
But the
cancers,
ones
it
that
still
are
is.
positive will have a higher survival
Can
rate.
do a
Yeah.
better possible.
Oh, yeah.
And of course there's a lot of things to that, but
Right.
you have to teach yourself a new mindset.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
have to
Oh.
if you're going to do that, you have to teach it to yourself. And that
Right.
means you can't talk about it yesterday and today and then never
Right, you
talk
have to-
about it again. You have to
Right.
keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And my husband read this to me yesterday, and
How did it go yesterday with him, by the way? Because that was some stuff, man.
it went really well. I mean,
Good.
it went really well. Like we did a lot and made a
Good.
lot yesterday.
Good.
So last night he read this to me, and ironically, I found it on my girlfriend's page by accident too. And he
Good.
didn't send it to me, but it's the exact same one. And how profound it is, and how we don't think this way, really kills me. What is a saying that many people say, and it's about living, that they say all the time when you want to do something that you want to have that beer, or you want to go on that trip, or you want to do that thing? What's the phrase that so many people say? Let me see if you can.
Just this one.
Yeah.
Just this one. Yeah.
Well, it's we only live once.
Right.
We
Yeah.
only live once. Go ahead and do that thing.
Right.
Go ahead and spend that money. Go ahead and take that cruise. Go ahead and have that
Right.
drink or whatever you're going to do. Because you go ahead and buy that car because you only live once. So
Yeah.
Snoopy is on the a dock looking over a lake with his best friend Charlie Brown,
Yeah.
and Charlie Brown says, "We only live once, Snoopy." And Snoopy replies, "Wrong. We only die once. We live every day."
Yeah.
And it's like you have to think about that. That is true. Every day
Yeah.
when you wake up, you're living again. You didn't die while you were sleeping. And while you were sleeping, you weren't living. You were alive, but you weren't living. You weren't doing anything. You were just asleep. So every day you get a chance to wake up and
And
live
do
again.
Something new. Yep.
So you have a choice when you wake up that day to be optimistic. And there is, and I've known this for years and years. It's not that I don't know the things you tell me. I know. And I have always been, the funniest part is I've always been the person who finds the silver lining.
Right.
I'm always the ultimate optimist. I am not a pessimist. I have always been the optimist. I see,
You just needed somebody kicking your ass.
do that. You'll do great. Or, I can see the potential of this. I can see where this
Right.
can, I've always been that genuine silver lining person. I don't see the dark cloud. I don't see the rain. I don't see the
Right.
cold. I see the beauty. I see
Right.
the fun that can come from it. Right now, we have snow everywhere. It's all snowy. Do you have snow where you're at?
I'm
like a
sharing
lot,
that with
or-
you. Look.
Do you have a lot? I can see that it's
you can-
white.
Well, it's all white. It's all white. Yeah, it's a couple inches. I would say probably
Okay.
3 or 4. Yeah, I don't like snow.
Yeah, I don't like snow either, but but the optimist part is look out the window and have a cup of
Right.
cocoa or a hot
Right.
cup of coffee and look out how pretty it is. Look at your
Right.
trees and the white. It is beautiful. I don't want to go play in it. I'm too old for that
No.
crap. I can't handle the cold long enough to go play in it. But
No.
genuine optimism. It's important to let it out. Is there anything I can do to make this easier for you?
Yeah.
And you can say these things to someone else, but you can also say them to yourself. You can say them out loud. I love you through all of your emotional states. You are so resilient, and your strength will get you through it. You are not alone, and there is support to help you. It's okay to cry. We all do. Can I get you a tissue or a hug? Things are tough right now. Do you want to talk about it or something lighthearted? Sometimes you might have to change the subject with somebody. And this includes yourself. Maybe you have to go change what you're doing at that moment.
Yeah.
Maybe whatever it is you're doing at that very moment, maybe you need to walk out of that room and do a reset. Go make a cup of coffee, come back and do that again in a minute.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to do those resets. So let emotions exist without judgment. Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a feeling, let them feel that and don't judge them for it. But at the same time, look in the mirror. And if you have a feeling, don't judge yourself for it. Think about why you have that feeling. What might be causing that? Get curious. That's a funny one. And this one's called sit with that feeling. Get curious. Maybe you have to get curious about why you're feeling the way you're feeling. You have to think a little bit harder. You have to dig a little deeper. Don't label emotions as good or bad.
Yeah.
You can have a feeling, and it doesn't mean it's bad, even though it may feel bad. It may make you think badly, but they are not necessarily good or bad. It's maybe a teaching lesson, maybe a learning lesson. Practice compassion. How would you support your best friend in this situation? This is great for me because I would have to think, what would I say to Kristen right now if she were feeling this way? And I think that's a really good one. Practice compassion with yourself. Like,
Yeah.
how would you talk to your best friend if they were acting or feeling the way you are? And
Yep.
maybe you have to sit in the mirror, and the one in the
And talk
mirror
that
is your
way.
best friend
Yep.
instead of
Exactly.
yourself. Envision it being them and talk them off the cliff. Like,
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how many times I've talked Kristen off the cliff, but equally how many times she's talked me down,
Right.
and helped me to see that, the good things I needed to hear or see. Notice where you're feeling it. What physical sensations are you experiencing? You talk about this quite a bit. What are you feeling at that time? Where are you at? Like you
Right.
have to physically, what makes you remember, what makes you like Pepsi so much?
Right.
What are
Yep.
you experiencing when that happens? Validate what and why you're feeling it. You do have to validate it. You have to give it its place, because I don't think you can put it in its place if you don't give it a place. And it
Right,
doesn't mean hold it
absolutely.
and carry it and put it in a suitcase and just hold it
No.
on your shoulders, but you have to validate it. Stay mindful and present. It's okay to go back into the past and think about, okay, this is probably what triggers this. This is what makes me feel
Yes.
this way. But then you also have to remember to come back
Yep.
to the present and come back to where
Yep.
you're at now,
Acknowledge it.
and be mindful. And sometimes telling yourself those stories of where you've come from. If you remember that one day I told the story about where Steve and I have come from, because quite often we have felt judged by people. Well, look at what they have. They
Right.
must be rich. No, we're not. But it's
Right.
like, look at where we came from and what
Right.
we've overcome to get here. That, sometimes you have to tell yourself that story over again, because then you
Right.
can look at what I've overcome. Look at
Right.
the things I have accomplished. Look at the
Exactly.
things I have walked out of the fire,
Yep.
and I've walked out of the ashes, and I have picked myself back up, and I have rebuilt something or whatever.
Right.
Bring awareness to the way you're speaking to yourself. You tell me this all the time.
Yep.
And we have to think about those things. Learn to identify what you're feeling. Try using a feelings wheel. And pulling these kind of things up really help you as well. Acknowledge and allow yourself to feel. And then you continue that cycle. It's a circle. You continue to do those things. It doesn't mean, okay, I've done 1 through 10. Now I'm done. I'm okay now. Because it doesn't necessarily work that way. There's more to it than just one thing. You can't just go there and then you're like, okay, I can stop now. I'm all good. And changing the words you use. You said this the other day. You say this quite often.
Yes, because it's important. Damn it. Listen.
Well, and yeah, you're right. You're right. So there's one and it's really simple, and I say it all the time too. It's like when your brain hears certain things, and if you don't want to forget something, and you want somebody to help you with that, if you say, "Don't let me forget to," they will forget it, and you will forget it. But if you say, "Will you please remind me I need to go to the store later?
Yeah.
Will you please remind me I need to go get milk? Will you
Isn't that
please
funny?
remind me to
So
go
crazy.
grab my hat when we leave?"
Yeah.
You will remember yourself, and they will
Yeah.
remember as well. So if you say, "Don't do that," what they hear is, "Don't do that."
Don't forget to.
Yelling at me when blah blah blah. What they heard is yell at me.
Right.
Yeah. Would you please talk to me in a very kind way? I'm hurting right now.
Yep.
There's ways of saying things, and you got to change. So instead of saying things like, "I'm going to quit," or "I want to quit," tell yourself, "I want to persevere. I want to persevere through this because I'm having a difficult time right now. I'm struggling. So I need to persevere. I need to push through. I need to push through it." Cannot. I try not to use cannot or can't. I mean, it is an actual word. And if used properly in a sentence, it is a usable word.
Yeah.
But you have to think about it in the level of yourself. Like, don't tell yourself you can't persevere. You can't do this because that equals
I am
quitting.
learning to. I am
Yeah.
going to try. I am working on. I am. Yes, absolutely. Or
Well,
if
and I
it's
even try to
really-
take
that
the
is
word
not
try
some-
out I tried to take tried to take the word try out, because try means you're already giving yourself an excuse out of not succeeding. So
Okay.
I will is much better than try. And these are a lot of this stuff is the things Kristen and I would talk about. She was a psychologist. She knew how to help you get through these things and make the impossible possible. Out of the question, achievable, improbable, likely, failure, success, unworkable, workable, hopeless, hopeful, retreat, advance. I mean, a lot of them are easy,
Right.
but I know the small attempts repeated will complete any undertaking. Persist, persevere. I will never consider defeat, and I will remove from my vocabulary such words and phrases as quit, cannot, unable, impossible, out of the question, improbable, failure, unworkable, hopeless, and retreat. For they are the words of fools. I will avoid despair, but it is the disease of the mind it should infect me when I will work on it in despair. I will toil and I will endure. I will ignore the obstacles at my feet and keep mine eyes on the goals above my head, for I know that where dry desert ends, green grass grows. So I think about it on the level of riding a motorcycle.
Right.
And when I used to teach people how to ride a motorcycle, and it's not as relevant to driving a car, but it's very similar to driving a car. So when you're on a road and doing that big turn onto a freeway or whatever, and you watch the car in front of you and they take that turn like this,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see the sharp, it's almost like an octagon instead of a circle. And that's because their eyes are right at the turn. They're looking down at the turn. So they're turning into that one and into that one and into that one and into that one. And eventually they make it around that turn. But if you focus your eyes beyond the turn, through the turn, the vehicle will go much smoother through the turn, and it will actually rotate. For a motorcycle, you will drive a motorcycle where you are looking.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at the beginning of the turn, you will turn right into the turn and crash.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look beyond the turn, you look where you're going. And I used to tell people this all the time. I want you to be looking, and even I taught the girls, I taught my son how to drive. When you're looking, you need to look past the hood. Don't look at the hood. Don't look at the road in front of you. You need to look 4, 5, 6 car lengths ahead. I would tell them, look as far as you can see, way up there, and you'll see everything else.
Right.
In the process, you'll see everything else, but you need to see that. Sorry, I had to change my camera. It wants to focus in and focus out. But you can see through that turn, and you will make a much smoother transition. And it also allows you to be aware of your surroundings, and it allows you to see a potential accident up ahead of you. And if you're looking in your mirrors far enough back, you can see that truck that's out of control just coming for the traffic. And all of a sudden, you have the ability to get yourself out of the way and let them plow right by you, and you don't get hit, you don't get hurt. But you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of where you're going. Well, that should be the same thing in life and how you treat yourself.
Absolutely.
Be aware of your surroundings. See what's in front of you. Focus on what's in front of you, because that's where you're going. But don't completely forget about the past.
Right.
Because if you don't pay attention, it will catch up to you.
Right.
And it will derail your progress. So you have to, yeah, I always use car and driving analogies, probably because my dad was a race car driver. But repairing a car, driving a car, those analogies are a really good way that I handle talking about how you look at things. And you really should look at how driving is so similar, because you're driving a car. The car is your body. You're going somewhere through life. You have a plan where you're going to end up. I mean, for me, I want to end up in heaven, so I want to live a life that lets me go there. So be purposeful.
Right.
And I'm just doing a lot of talking.
Got it. You're going. You got a good pass so far. You're doing good. Yep.
Let me pull up the next one. So the words we speak to your child become their internal voice. So you have to think about you're that child when you no longer have a child in the home, so to speak, which is my situation. You're empty nesters. So maybe you need to talk to your own inner child.
Yes,
and even when you have
so
children in the
important.
home, maybe you still need to talk to your inner child. Think
Yes.
about how you would talk to your child. Don't talk to yourself a different way.
Yep.
So mistakes happen. It's okay.
Yep.
Like when I make a mistake, I get really angry with myself,
Yes, and that it's not healthy.
and I shouldn't.
Yep.
Mistakes happen. It's okay. Your feelings
Yep.
matter. You can do hard things. You are so clever and funny. You are so kind and helpful. You belong here. You can always figure it out. I am so proud of you. I love you on good days and bad days. I believe in you. Your smile makes my day. And literally, I know this seems funny, like you're going to tell yourself that stuff. Maybe you need to make little note cards. I'm going to do this because I have a hard time saying it to myself. So I'm going to make little stickies and I'm going to put it on my mirror that say some of these things. And my goal is to put a new one up every day, not have them all up at once. I'm going to write them out and then I want to put a new one up. And I don't necessarily want to take them down, but at some point I want to replace the ones that I'm now feeling more successful with and replace them with something else. Replace it with something I need to hear now from myself. And you have to remember that. And, we talk about sobriety here as well. And we talk about what people go through with sobriety. And everybody knows the sobriety prayer or the serenity prayer. And, grant me the wisdom and, the
peace,
to stop this and do that. Well, this is the other serenity prayer, which I found. God grant me the serenity to stop beating myself up for not doing things perfectly. The courage to forgive myself because I'm working on doing better. And the wisdom to know that you already love me just the way I am.
Well, I like that one.
I like that
better.
one.
Yeah.
I like that.
When I was doing some stuff, because, we kind of talked yesterday about some of the stuff that I went through as a kid. One of the things that I had to go through in my work was to write a letter to myself as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Probably one of the best things I ever did. And I will still do it on occasion when I need to. And it just, it's something I would recommend someone do for themselves.
We
if
talked
they
about
can.
that.
Yeah.
And making a
it's
show
just-
of it where we write a letter to ourselves and if you're willing to share it. If you're not, don't. I don't know if I could.
Yeah.
I might be able to I might be able to share little snippets of it,
Yeah.
just to help someone else get motivated to do it themselves. But it's not a letter to the public.
Right.
It's
no,
it's not an op-ed for the newspaper.
absolutely.
It's a
not.
letter to yourself, so you can be
Yeah.
the most vulnerable, you can be the
Right.
most honest, and you can be be
Yeah.
the most direct, and all the things that you needed her to hear, maybe
Absolutely.
that you never
And-
did hear. And it is a very
Yeah.
I've been given that task a time or two. Kristen actually told me to do this a long time ago,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've ever done it. I think
How?
I've started it, and I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever.
It's hard. It is.
Yeah, because
hard.
I don't think I could get through. I didn't get through it. Every time I
Yeah.
did try, I cried too much to where
Oh yeah.
I did not get through it.
Yeah. Now the other one, the way that I was tested, and I was like, oh, I was the most uncomfortable. Like when you talk about like saying nice things to yourself, was to because like I'm very proud of the mom I am. I think I did a pretty good job. I jokingly call being a mom like a social science experiment. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I don't because if I
Join the
didn't,
club.
right, but like I was tasked, they said, be the mom to yourself that you didn't have.
Right.
And like, and that's a whole, when you look at it that way, it's like, dude, what kind of mom would I need? Even today, like we were talking about, look in the mirror and say those things to yourself. What do you need your mom to say to you
Right.
when you're in those things? And
Right.
it like takes on that whole thing, like, okay, well now like your brain switches, like, what do I need to say? Like, what do I need to hear right now?
What would I
You know,
need to
what-
hear from my
Yeah.
mom?
Right.
And
like,
and it's one of those things where we have to acknowledge and we have to recognize the fact that inner child is always there.
always there.
It doesn't
We
matter how
are-
old
we
you are.
are someone, right? We are someone's child. Everyone is someone's child, and we need to acknowledge that.
So
and
I
they
will
are always hurting.
I will tell you there was a time that my mom and her brother did not speak to each other.
Okay.
And it spanned more than a decade
Right.
that they did not speak to each other. If they were in the same room, they were cordial to be polite.
Right.
But they did not speak to each other. They didn't call each other. They didn't talk. And he had a heart attack. And my mom asked me to take her to the hospital to see her brother. And on the way into the hospital, there's always that gift place.
Right.
And she went in there and she found this teddy bear that looked very similar to a teddy bear he had or she had when they were young. So we bought it for her to take up there. And she took it up to her brother's room. And I physically witnessed two older people. They were in their 70s or 60s or late 60s, early 70s. I can't honestly remember. It was a long time ago. But I witnessed two old people turn like 7 and 9 right in front of my face.
Yeah.
The inner children that loved each other so desperately and that were
Right.
so connected and so together
Right.
found that and reconnected over a bear and over
Yeah.
her breaking that and coming. And
Right.
they were close ever since, all the way
Right.
up till he passed away.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful thing to see. But the
Yeah.
thing is seeing that also helped me to acknowledge that the inner child never leaves.
It never leaves.
The things that you lacked, you missed, or you lost. Hers, they lost their dad when she was 17. When you lose a parent at a younger age, it hurts no matter what age you are, but
Right.
it's harder when you lose a parent at a very young age. And
Yeah.
what you missed and what you lost affects who you are as a person. And like, I'm sure
Absolutely.
for you, it's that why didn't I deserve that? What did I do? And
Right.
and giving yourself that grace of saying you did nothing. You did
Right.
not ever deserve that. You did nothing. And
Right.
so you don't even have the image of somebody to put in there that you lost because you don't have that. So
Right.
I can see how that would be extremely hard and extremely painful as
Right.
well, and we build up characters in our head that we wish they were,
Right.
and, those kind of things. So, and we have to acknowledge that child within us.
Absolutely.
We have to find that inner child within us and maybe writing that letter to that person. And I think equally too, it would almost be, I watched something and I can't remember what it was, so I can't share what it was. I think it was a show or something, but it was where a therapist had her write a letter as the small child to her present self.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And like literally gave her a crayon to write it in crayon and allow herself to go back and be a child and write to that
Ugh.
current self of what she needs. And she said, she said it was the most healing that she had ever done because it allowed the adult, when the adult read it, literally felt the same things as when they were a child. They smelled the smells,
Yeah.
they felt the feels, they, especially seeing it. And this is the best part. She had to write it with her left hand because she's right-handed. So what does that end up looking like? Like child
Yeah.
writing.
Right.
Might not be as well for somebody who's ambidextrous, but
Yeah.
write it with your toes. Use your
Right.
toes.
Yeah. Behind your back.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there are techniques, and this was a
Yeah.
psychologist. It was somebody I was watching, or I think it was on a YouTube video or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a TV show, and it could have been.
Right. Could be like Criminal Minds or something weird.
They all kind of blend together now. Was I watching real or was I watching, something else?
Oh
But
my
it's like
gosh.
it's true, because that is part of your mindset that can help
Right.
you to do that.
Unlock it. Yep.
And like I
Right.
say all the time, there's a difference between when sometimes some people just need to be heard. And
Right.
sometimes you just need to listen. And
Right.
and I think there is something about listening and hearing. You can listen to somebody and not hear them.
Right.
Not hear what they're actually saying. I was listening, I was paying
Right.
attention, but were you really? Did you
Right.
really hear what I had to
you hear
say?
me?
Did you
Yep.
hear me? And how easy is it to be a little bit more honest and be a little bit more truthful if you're sending somebody a text message or a email
Right.
because they're not in your face,
Right.
you're not in front of them, you won't feel the slap so hard.
Yep.
So it's easy to and look at the armchair quarterbacks, I call them all the time. I'm in this big debate with somebody over a post that was somebody else put out bashing firefighters for not
No.
for letting these homes burn.
Right.
And I went in there and I'm like, I was a volunteer firefighter and I was a medic. My husband was a firefighter and he was a forest firefighter. He was
Right.
the ones that you're going to use for these type of fires.
Right.
He wasn't a city firefighter.
Right.
And most people, when you say my husband was a firefighter, they think that they were a
House.
house fire,
That's
city fire.
That's a rare one to find. Right.
And he was a forest firefighter. and with Forest Service, and not Cal Fire, but with the federal fire department. And so he fought many of these type of forest fires, keeping them at bay, pushing them back. So when we're watching it, you know, like he's reading off the stats with me. He's telling me how many trucks they have, how many personnel they have. And these guys start working, you know, for 2, 3, 4 days without sleep. They put racks up, or, you know, cots up for them to take a quick nap when they get a chance, to eat food, grab some food. And, you know, somebody put out a post that said, hey, we appreciate you bringing food down for the firefighters, but please stop bringing snacks. Bring meat, bring protein, bring healthy things, because we need to rejuvenate so that we don't just need a sugar high. We need protein. We're losing everything in our bodies to do this. And then the other lady,
and water,
exactly, bashing them. Why are they letting these burns? There's no firefighters to be seen. And I'm like, sometimes it's too dangerous. And I started with, it's easy to fight fire, right? ... From your armchair. Like, you don't know what it takes to go into those fires.
Right.
You don't know the assessment of the situation. They also have drones.
Right.
They use a lot of drones to go up and see where is the heat of the fire.
Exactly.
Where is this part? Where is that part? Because there's a lot more to fighting fire than that house is on fire. Boom, you got to be there with hoses and get it out. Well, you know, we've learned now that they have no water.
Right.
You know, the hydrants are empty.
Infrastructures are ready.
There's videos of somebody gave them purses, and they're filling the purses with water and using that to put it's a spot fire. That's all they're getting on that particular one with the purses. But without the purses and without the water off the truck going in the purses, they would have not gotten that spot fire, and it would have continued, and it would have started burning that structure that was right next to that spot fire.
Exactly.
So, I mean, when you're bashing them for what they're doing and you're not taking account into perspective and seeing the whole perspective, maybe they are fighting the house that's not on fire. They're trying to keep that from catching fire. You know, if you have a fully involved house, you can't fight that anymore. It's gone. There's nothing you can do. But maybe you didn't see that firefighter coming out with the cat that's smoldering and still alive and running and taking it to the homeowner who's now on his knees hugging his cat. That was a video I saw. You know, so you have to see the whole perspective. They're risking their lives to go in and save that cat. They're risking their lives venting that roof. I've been there. I've seen it. I've done it. I've vented a roof. I vented a roof where a firefighter fell in. You know, because as soon as we hit, another firefighter was on another side of the roof, and he hit his section and he went right through the roof because it was already and you know, he was on his rope. We did it right. We were able to pull him right out really quick. But as soon as that happened, like our chief would get off the fucking, you're done. You're done. That means it's too compromised. You know, you can't save that anymore. And you have to assess, like, at the point of, you know, if you can't get that done without the risk of life, you have to back away, because property, as sad as it is for anyone losing their property, you have to save life. And if there's no life left in there, you can't continue to fight for the stuff. And it's hard for people to lose their things, but you can rebuild. You can find replacements. You can do this. You can do that. Maybe photographs will never be found again. You know, I do always suggest to people, have your most important things in a safe. Have a digital copy of everything. You know, grab the most essential thing, your birth certificate, your passport. You know, if you can grab that laptop with all those photos on it, great. But if you can't,
otherwise, keep it on a cloud.
Yeah, keep it on a cloud. Grab your dog And
Yep. And get out.
whatever that most important, if something is so important to you that you absolutely must have that thing, then it should be locked in a fire safe.
Yeah.
And then you can come back and find those things. And and I've had to evacuate people from fires. I've done that. And the things that you watch them grab is kind of, you think to yourself, we're evacuating. I actually evacuated the bunny ranch.
Oh.
Yeah. That one was fun. I will say, and I mean, it's smoke filled, the fire is coming, and I was in there, and the girls came out. If anybody understands, the bunny ranch is a whorehouse. Okay. So as they are coming out, they're literally in stiletto heels, this tall, wearing lingerie and their shit. And I'm like, some of them were dressed normal, went back and put lingerie on. Oh. And I was like, oh no, honey. And I told all, you go get some clothes on.
Right.
Flat tennis shoes and jeans and a shirt, baseball cap, whatever you want, but you're not wearing that. And one of them's like, why can't I wear? I'm like, because I'm taking you to the high school gym where everyone is assembling. You're not going to be wearing that in the high school gym. I'm not going to have some mom coming up to me going, my son just got a handy for $20 in the bathroom. That's not going to happen.
What would you grab in a fire?
My dog.
Your dog. Yep.
My dog.
Yep.
My husband, my dog. I mean, I wouldn't have to grab my husband, hence the reason I didn't say my husband first. But I would have to get my dog, my mom, my mom's dogs, myself. Probably if I could, I would grab my laptop. If I could. If I didn't have time for that, the most important things would be my mom, her dogs, and my dog, and Steve and his dog. If Steve was not home, the order in which I would do it would be letting my mom's dogs out on her deck, out to their backyard. And my mom would probably hold on to her little puppy and get my mom down the stairs or out of the house. Puppy. Yeah. I would probably take my mom out the back door because it would be the most direct, because it's already outside. Take her out into the yard in the grass, and probably a chair for her, to be honest with you, because I would, her walker, I would probably grab the walker.
Complicating things.
Well, exactly. But I mean, if this is now a mindset, a thought process, get my mom outside of her house and get her out to her yard, then I would go, and her dog's outside with her. Then I would go down the stairs, grabbing my dog and probably the walker, because my mom has such a difficult time with that. Yeah. And, so the whole thought process is making sure that she has somewhere that she could sit and something to hold on to walk. And on the process of that, I don't really have to grab my dogs, because my dogs would straight up follow me. They would follow me outside. But I also have to think mindfully, because we have a dog that is volatile with another dog. So I can't just grab everybody and take them all outside, because then I would be dealing with a fire and a massive dog fight. Right. So having my mom out in her yard with her dogs and getting her something she could sit in, because no way my mom could stand for very long. Right. So doing that, and of course in the process of that, calling 911, whatever, there's a thought process that I have that I would go through. I had to fight a fire at my house in Nevada, and I was not aware of it. I was sitting in the living room, and my dog was outside, and my dog came in, Charlotte. She came in, and she's barking at me, and she's grabbing my pant leg with her teeth. Oh, no. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I ignored her. I was like, what? Stop. And then she ran back outside, and she came back in, and we didn't have Jethro then. She came back
Yeah.
in, and I was like, what is your problem? And again, she's barking at me and grabbing my pant leg. She did it 3 times. On the 3rd time she did it, I was like, okay, something's going
wrong.
on. What do you want? And she drug me outside, and the neighbor's house is on fire, and the whole entire property is on fire, and it
my
is
gosh.
now coming onto our property, into
no.
our yard. And
no.
holy shit, I was like, oh my God, well, I'm a former firefighter, and I still have my bunker gear, and it was right there accessible. I literally ran and put my bunker gear on, and I
That's
ran
funny.
outside, and my dog is so smart. I will tell you that. I grabbed one hose, and my dog grabbed another hose, and she's carrying
Nice.
it in her mouth. And
Nice.
I've got the other hose, and I put them both in a spot right because where it's going to come over the fence is going to
Yeah.
come at our shop, our garage
Right.
first.
Right.
And so then I ran to go turn it on, and she held that her hose in her mouth. She pointed it right to where the fire was at. And her and I fought, and it came in enough to where it melted the whole backside of our garage.
Oh my gosh.
And we fought that fire off from our property side, and we couldn't go over the fence to fight inside that property. But by that time, the firefighters had come. And I will tell you, it was kind of funny because one of the firefighters comes over. Now,
What is
he's like, "Oh, I didn't know we already had somebody back here." And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Nope.
I'm like, nope. Look closer,
know.
because I'm wearing
Yeah,
bunker
this is-
gear with flip flops. Because
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have time to
this
even
is not your team?
get socks and stuff. Yeah, this is not your.
Got it.
And he started laughing because the jacket's open because I was too
Yeah.
fat to shut my coat anymore, but I was able to get the pants on, and the suspenders to hold the pants up because I also could not zip the pants or button the pants up.
Yeah.
So, but I'm wearing flip flops because I didn't take time to put boots on or any of that. I'm just in my
So
flip
half
flops.
there,
But
half there.
But I was like, if I get burned, like you can literally shove your feet under the dirt
Yeah.
to protect your feet if you had to.
Yeah.
But if the fire comes at you, it's going to come at you like this. And I wanted to protect my body from getting burned. I didn't have a fire helmet on. I didn't
you were
go
smart.
get the whole thing on. I just
Right.
had my flip flops
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bunker gear so that I was at least somewhat protected. My dog burned the whole front of her face, her
Oh,
hair on
baby.
her eyebrows, and singed. So to this day, she is afraid of a campfire.
Oh.
Like you put a campfire on, she wants as
She's
far
gone.
away from that shit as possible.
That's
she'll
funny.
sit with me or she'll sit under the chair, but she really wants on my lap. Like I remember
Yeah.
when this happened.
Yeah, this is not okay, Mom.
Exactly. So I think about what people say to them, and I'm
Right.
like,
And you take it personal.
and I take it personal because I'm like, how dare you?
Absolutely.
You have no
Right.
idea what it
Right.
takes and the assessment that it takes. Now, at the same
Absolutely.
time, if you want to blame somebody, blame the administration,
Right.
blame the people making the rules and the regulations,
Right.
blame the crazy environmentalists. I've been dealing with that my whole life, coming from that area, the Sierra Club
Sure.
and the environmentalists. They're going to say the smelt, a fish that is invasive,
Right.
not a fish you need to save, first of all.
Right.
Many times, the white owl or the this or the that. And I'm like, great, you're not cleaning up your forest and maintaining your forest. So your white owl is now dead because all his house is gone. Everywhere
Right.
for him to live is now gone. The babies that might have been in those eggs are gone. And if they, and that type of creature will stay with their babies
Yeah.
and burn to death instead of flying away. Some will run away, but
Right.
you save them by taking care of their home.
Yep.
You don't save them by leaving everything that's dead and rotting because it just becomes kindling.
Right.
And you have to think about that if you can relate that back to your own person. You can't
Right.
save yourself if you keep all the kindling.
Right. You have to get rid of it.
You have
shed
to
it.
clean it and get rid of it and clean out that kindling, clean up the stuff that would catch fire
Yep.
and spread.
And destroy you. Yeah.
That those can be your negative thoughts. Take all
Yeah.
those negative thoughts and consider them kindling and take
That's a
them
great
out.
analogy. Good job.
Take them out and get rid of them because you don't need your soul to burn up because you're keeping all this dead, rotting debris
Yeah.
inside of you. Shed it, get rid of it.
Yep,
Do
yep.
your own forest maintenance within yourself.
Yes,
and-
regularly.
Yeah.
What do they call it? An inventory regularly,
Yeah.
if you can, and let stuff go. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
And for these firefighters out there fighting these homes, also, I'm seeing an awful lot of comments online about people saying, who gives a shit about these celebrities losing their homes and they deserve it and karma. Some
No,
lady
don't
came
do
back
that.
and she said, James Woods, you deserve this. It's karma,
No.
bitch, because he's a conservative.
No.
And I'm like, oh, so all your other woke liberals, it's their karma too? Is that what you're saying?
No one deserves
but
it. It doesn't
nobody,
matter.
It doesn't matter your economical status.
No.
Losing everything is still painful
Still
no matter
hard.
what
Yes.
your circumstances is. And when you say, well, they've got the money to rebuild, they've got the money to do this or that, and that's might be a factual statement, but there are
Right.
going to be things that they cannot replace, just like everyone else.
Exactly.
There are going
Exactly.
and those people will probably financially help other people who can't
Right.
because they
Yep.
have the means to do so and they're personally
Yeah.
affected, because a lot of times we have to be honest with ourselves. We don't do a lot of things until we're personally affected by something.
Right. Yeah, I did hear a lot of conversations yesterday about like they may not be able to build their house and their swimming pool and all the things the way that they had them because of all of the
New regulations.
Yeah.
A lot
and
of
I'm
those
like, "Ooh,
homes are
that
from the
may
1920s,
change."
1940s. A larger majority of those homes are from
So
the
that may-
80s and below.
Yeah.
So a lot
they
of
may
regulations
have a
have
lot
changed.
Of feelings about the new regulations coming up now that
and the cost of some of
Of
those
building.
homes have been, okay, my aunt doesn't live there. She lives in Anaheim, but I
Uh-huh.
know she paid like $60,000 or something for
Right.
her house, and
right,
in the
like
60s or
50 years,
something.
Yeah. Okay. So almost 80 years ago.
By the time she passes away and sells that house, I'm sure they're probably going to be able to sell it for about $1 million or so,
Oh, at
give
least.
or take.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not
And
the
it's
best,
paid off.
and
Yeah.
it's fully paid off. So it's
Yeah.
like, if that were to go up in tenders, like a lot of these
Right.
homes in this area, a lot of them are super old, and some of them are celebrity homes that have been passed down from their
Right.
celebrity parents.
Right.
And so this $7 million house, and now some of them are just bought, but it
Right.
might be $7 million what it was worth, but you're not going to be able to have that same house, nor are you going to be
Right.
able to rebuild it even for probably $7 million.
Right. Exactly.
So,
exactly.
is it-
And it's not going to take months. It's going to take years with those new regulations and
Mhm.
what do you call, oh my God, my brain. I'm sorry. I take Topamax. My migraines make me whatever. And the words, the materials are not
Are-
readily available often.
Right.
So it will take
and the
longer.
cost of the materials is so much
And
more than it
especially-
used to be.
Right. And now, and with all of that area needing all of those materials, it is going to take a really long time.
Thousands of homes have been
Yes.
taken.
So that's
So there's a
but
lot.
That's great for economic growth for that area. There's going to be a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
So,
For a while,
Yeah.
a lot of construction
that's
jobs.
yeah.
But I mean, and they
And
talk
the other
about
thing
the
too insurance companies backed out recently from that area. So a lot
James
of those
Woods
homes
said
were
4
not
months.
insured.
James Woods said 4 months ago, everyone in his neighborhood lost their insurance, and there
Yeah.
is a huge rumor right now going on about this being a conspiracy and that this was a planned. And you got to wonder. You really do
Yeah,
have to wonder
that's-
if it was, you know. When you start putting all the lines together, you know, the
Right.
insurance companies backed out. Then
Right.
strong winds were known that they were coming, and all of a sudden these fires started. The
Sure.
mayor took off on a plane to go somewhere else.
Ghana.
You know, Ghana.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I need
Why
to
were
go to
you in
Ghana right
what
now.
What does that have to do with
really?
your job?
Well, there's also
Yeah.
there's also a person who says they know for a fact, and they have the receipts, that she's part of the Communist Party, and when she was up and coming before she got to mayor or whatever, she was flying to Cuba every 6 months. Yeah, there's some really ugly, dirty
weird
shit
shit.
coming out about her. So
Wow.
this is not
All right.
about that. This is about
No.
our self-healing, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you know, other
It's weird.
things do come into thought process about that. There's a lot of negative comments being made about the firefighters and people,
Yeah.
the celebrities,
Scrap
but
that.
loss
Let's
is
just
loss.
do some light. Let's just do light and be supportive.
And
Because what goes
I
around
said,
comes around. Don't be an ass.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, and I put out there to somebody, I said, we hate the liberal sides, you know, dehumanizing.
Right.
Let's not join them and be
Right.
dehumanizing. Like these,
Exactly.
at the bottom line, sure, they may do things you don't like, whatever. But at the end of the day, they're still a human.
Exactly.
And they still deserve to be treated respectfully, and they deserve to be treated they do deserve to have compassion, you know.
Absolutely.
And this goes back to when you judge,
Right.
your worst is your worst. Don't
Right.
compare it to someone else's worst.
Absolutely.
And if you can
Yeah.
do that, you can keep the humanity part of it. Because for yourself and for someone else, you have to still be human. You have to still love your neighbor. You still have to, you know, and when I was, most of what I've listened to several other ones, but what I most listened to was James Woods. And when he was talking about it, his first thought was that house down there. And it wasn't on fire yet, but he was like, the guy that lives there is 95 years old.
Yeah. Like
I
that's
think
a
he's in the
person.
hospital. I think he's
Oh,
in the
no.
hospital, but
He's not
he
gonna have a
went
place to
he
go.
went and pulled up the guy's phone number because he knows his neighbors. He knows his neighbors. He has their phone number, and he didn't have his phone number, or he probably does, but he called the man's son,
Yeah.
who lives somewhere else in the area, I guess, somewhere nearby. But he called his son and said, "Is your dad? What are you calling about? Blah blah blah. Your dad. I'm worried about your dad."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why? What's going on? Our whole neighborhood's on fire. Is your dad? Your dad's in the hospital, right? No, my dad's at home."
Oh.
And James Woods was like, holy shit, his dad's at home. So he got a hold of the firefighters, and he's like, there's a 95-year-old man in this house.
Get him out of the
We got to get
neighborhood.
him out. So what he found out was they went, and the caretaker, the caregiver, who didn't speak well English and was probably afraid of authority, so probably an illegal, and they made her evacuate without him.
Oh.
They did not take him out at that time.
Okay.
And so James was, you know, almost to a point of he was going to go in and they got someone to go in, and the house was empty. No one was there. So, and then an hour later, he said an hour later, his house was gone. His house was
my gosh.
burnt to the ground. And so at some point, somebody had gone in. they had gotten the information that there is a 95-year-old man in there. They did get him out, and he was now at the hospital. So they
Okay,
had
good.
transported him or whatever. But
Okay.
James Woods' thoughts were about someone else.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
were not about himself. He got himself, his wife, his dog, and his cat, and they got out. But his thoughts were of his neighbor, and
Yeah.
his other neighbor stayed
Yeah.
fighting his house off with his own
Yeah.
hose. And and it's like, you said he deserves this because of karma. Was that his
Right.
karma? He was saving,
Right.
he was worried about his neighbor. He was making the effort to, before he put himself in a safe place, he wanted to make sure his 95-year-old neighbor,
Yeah.
who he knew had phone numbers for, and he was able to get a hold of the son and find, and it took a while. So this man has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So
So,
get
yeah.
to a hospital. He doesn't even know his name.
Right.
He doesn't know who he is. So how do you contact his family or anyone to know who this man is, to know that he was safe? So
Yeah.
that was his thought process, is worrying about another person, not
We had a-
himself.
We had a situation a couple months ago. It was like midnight, and our street was just full of hospital lights, or ambulance and police. Neighbor 2 doors
It's like
down.
hospital lights. They just brought
Yeah,
him over.
sorry. Yeah.
Surgery.
Yeah. See my brain today.
I like
But the neighbor had had an accident, and then my next door neighbor went outside, and so the next morning I sent him a text message, and I was like, hey, that whole thing made me realize, like, I don't have an emergency plan, and like if something happened, like, what do we do? So I went to the neighbor on both sides of me, and I gave him like a whole plan, and I was like, these are my kids, these are their phone numbers, this is where they live. So like if something happens, and whatever, this is who lives in our house, this is our phone numbers, this is how to get into our house if you need to, if something like you see something burning or whatever, or you hear our alarm going off, whatever. They know where the safe room is in our house. They know where all the stuff is, I'm like, so, this is where we work, blah, blah, blah. So like, if something happens, like, you can take care of it. And then, if something happens to myself or Jesse, like, this is the instructions to take care of Cadence and all the things.
Where to go and what to do, because a lot of people don't have that plan.
Right.
And what do you do in those circumstances?
It's
Because emergencies
terrifying.
can happen.
And so fast.
And for those who have already gone through this themselves in the past, like Alicia's house burnt down.
yeah.
My friend Christy, her house burnt down, her cabin. And
yeah.
when I was a kid, the house next door to my house literally blew up.
Oh my gosh.
With me and my cousin, we were walking, and we had just knocked on the door to play with their kid. They weren't home or whatever. We got off the steps and we started walking up our street, and the house blew up. My cousin, she couldn't come back there for the longest time. She was a 911 operator and ran 911 for years later on in life. We were kids when that happened. My brother and his best friend, they were playing with matches in the woods across from our house, and they lit the forest on fire. And that was, fought off, and it burned quite a bit. Luckily, they got it out quick enough, but my brother and his friend didn't get the fire put out. The fire department did. So I think about the people who, we weren't personally suffered from that. But
Right.
When we had the massive Angora fire through Tahoe and the mountains, which burned a whole bunch of homes, my childhood home burnt to the ground. So, it burned a memory. It burned something that every time I went home, I would always drive up there and drive by my old house, because there's memories associated with those windows and that there.
Absolutely.
And the only thing left now is the boulders that were in my yard because they've rebuilt the house and it is not my house
Not
anymore.
it's not yours. Yeah.
It doesn't
totally.
look anything like our house.
Right.
You know, so for the people that are watching this happening, that have experienced this, they're
It's
having
traumatic.
trauma.
Oh,
They're having
absolutely.
trauma from that and reliving that experience, so they know exactly what those
Absolutely.
people are feeling, what those people are going through, and the empathy. And to
Absolutely.
watch other people not have empathy or have
would
feelings about another
destroy
human
faith in
being is
humanity.
disgusting.
Absolutely.
It is
Absolutely.
absolutely disgusting, and you should check yourself.
Absolutely.
It should not
Like that.
matter their political side of it. It should not matter. And then
Nope.
another person, and I will say I disagree with this 100%. The police or the fire chief that they hired, the DEI hire, her priority was making sure to continue with DEI, and that it was important for people to make sure that she had people that look like you. People want people that look like me to come and fight the fight. No, they don't. They want them to show up with water. They don't care what they look like. You can send me an ape as long as he has water. I don't care what they
And
look
knows
like.
how to do the
He
job.
can be walking on his knuckles with no fire suit on because he's a monkey, but he's got water. I don't care what somebody looks like. I don't care what their pronouns are. I don't care what they wear. I don't care if they would like heels. I don't care what they call themselves. I don't care what they do in their home. I don't care about any of that, and I don't care what their skin color is, and it does not need to match my lifestyle or my race or any of that. I care that they have water
And they can do the job.
and that they know how to use the water. and they know how to connect a hose to the truck or to
They
the
are
fire
physically
hydrant,
and
and they
mentally
know how to
capable of
use the
doing it.
proper wrench to turn on the
Yeah.
fire
They can
hydrant.
do the job.
You know, as long as they can do the job and they have water, I don't care what you look like. And I'm not going to call 911 and say, I need 911. What is your emergency? Well, hold on. Before I tell you my emergency, do you have somebody who's white and a Republican?
Right.
Oh, no, we don't have any of those. Never mind. That is not how people call 911. You know, they don't make sure they send a liberal. They don't care. Send water. Send a firefighter that can, send somebody can resuscitate my whoever. That's what people care about. So I'm going to end with our devotional other side of it, the evening side. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Matthew 13:44 ESV version. Have you ever been hard up for cash? Are there times when you are scrambling around looking for loose change between the cushions of the couch, checking the pockets of the jackets in the closet, looking for any other money around the house but still come up short? Have you ever had to decide to sell some of your possessions in order to make necessary purchases? If so, was it done out of need or desperation? Notice that in our verse this evening, it was in his joy that he went and sold everything that he had in order to be able to purchase the field that included the newly discovered treasure. He knew that what he was trading in paled. Commas are important,
Commas are.
and they didn't put one. Was trading in paled in comparison to what he was receiving. Jesus, the kingdom of heaven is available to us because you gave up everything and died on the cross for our benefit, for our behalf. Help me to be joyfully serve you no matter the cost. Now, question, how does your life reflect the joy of the kingdom of heaven? And I think we can look at that and how we treat ourselves and how we treat our fellow man does that reflect the joy of heaven? And can we look at people with compassion regardless of their circumstances? Just like You want a firefighter to show up at your house. You don't care who, what, where, why, when, as long as they know what they're doing and they come with water. Equally, we should treat the way we treat people the same way. We don't care what you are, what you look like. Treat them with kindness and love, because that's what you deserve in return as well. And do that to yourself as well, because that's what this show was about. Treat yourself with the same compassion you want others to treat you with. Remember, you are one of the others. You're one of the people too. So treat yourself with the same compassion you want people to treat you with. And our smart ass quote from our little box of motivational shit, because we all need a kick in the ass sometimes, is the key to life is simple. Just don't be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
That's
easy.
Appropriate. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, people. Not that hard. Anyway, that is our show for the day. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and I'm going to read off our chats really quick. Some of my family and lots of friends are living through this right now. I'm watching my childhood burning, and it is traumatic. The survivors have no municipal services right now. It is apocalyptic. No power, no water, no way to get anywhere. Childhood environment. And that is true, because for me, it's the same way. Like, I spent so much time in LA, so much time in Southern California. I have family there. I've reached out to quite a few of my family and friends. Remember, I worked in the Hollywood environment, so I've reached out to a few of the celebrities I know, and a few of the producers I know, and stuff like that, agents that I know, and reached out to them privately to make sure they're okay. Several have gotten back with me to let me know that they're doing okay, they're safe, or they've been evacuated. So, watching that happen to some of these people that mean a lot to me is hard to watch, and seeing that whole place gone basically is very devastating. And I've never lived through a fire. I've seen the fires. I've fought fires. I've watched it from a distance, but I've never had to experience it firsthand. But I know the trauma that causes for people, because I have been there holding someone back when they wanted to run back in their house. So, we have to end this show with, please, for the love of God, be compassionate. Be compassionate, because you don't take the humanity out of being human. Who cares what their political side is? Who cares what they've done? Who cares who they are, what you think they deserve? You are not the judge and jury and executioner. Have compassion. That's all I can say. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And all of our socials are Girl Talks, GURL TAUX, because we're going to talk about it. We'll see you on Monday, 10 to 11:30. Have a great weekend. If you're in our area where it's snowing and we don't have the proper snow equipment, stay home, stay safe. If you need to go out, please be careful. Just because you have 4-wheel drive does not mean it will get you there safely. You still have to drive carefully. Thank you and have a great day. See you Monday. Bye.